Good morning everyone, it is a Saturday and I've been enjoying a slow start to the weekend. I'm still in my dressing gown and I have to do my workout this morning and then get myself all ready to get going today. But I thought for this week's vlog I would show you a bit of what I get up to over a weekend, obviously a weekend in lockdown, but I do tend to work quite a bit over the weekend. I always do some photography and writing and things like that, and I thought I'd maybe show you part of that process, but also I like to do some fun things and obviously have some relaxation on the weekend too. Something I really want to do later today is make some bird puddings for the birds, because they absolutely scraped clean the coconut halves that we bought the other week that were filled with lard and seed, and today I want to make my own mixture for them and replace all that they've eaten from the coconut halves. So I'm excited about that, and I thought I'd show you how I do it, and hopefully the birds will love it. And yes, I thought it would also just be nice to show you a bit of what I get up to over the weekend, and also maybe have a chat about some of the photography that I do, some of the habits I'm trying to form at the moment that I hope will stand me in good stead for the whole year ahead, and that link to some of my goals for the year and things like that. I thought it'd be quite fun to do a few more little chatty bits in my vlogs, so I think I'm going to ask on Instagram actually if there are any ideas for topics that you would like me to talk about, but I'll ask here too if there are any topics you would especially like me to chat about. Then let me know, because I think it would be quite nice to include some little more informal chats and things within vlogging right now. Certainly I'm hoping to do more vlogs this year, so I'm excited to keep trying with them and hopefully get better with them as well. It'll be nice when we can travel again, but I am enjoying vlogging and it's a way to just show you a bit of my day-to-day life too, so that's kind of the aim for this vlog today. So I hope you enjoy it, and I better get going now, get my weekend started. Okay, here I am. So I've got my things ready. Got the coconut shells that have really been scraped pretty darn clean by all of the birds. And I'm using actually this book. It's called Making Winter by Emma Mitchell. And it says a creative guide for surviving the winter months. I bought this a few years ago actually when it first came out, and it is a really lovely book full of creative projects to do over winter, like some knitting ideas, nature journaling ideas, lots of different things, some recipes as well. And in this book Emma has some instructions on how to make a little pudding for birds. So I'm following what she says in the book, and I've already weighed out my lard and melted it, and I've measured out the same weight in total of berries and, well, no, I didn't actually have berries, I used seeds, pumpkin seeds, and I also put a few bits in as well. I added some cheese rind. We didn't actually have any bacon. You can put bits of bacon rind in and things. I'll actually just move the camera so I can show you my setup a little bit. So here is my mixture. I used a mixture called Woodland Crumble that I bought that's meant to be good for birds, as well as some seeds and some breadcrumbs and some cheese rind that you can see in there. So hopefully they'll like that. I've got the lard that's melted, and then I've got my coconut halves, and I have a yogurt pot as well if I need a little bit extra. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to just pour the lard into my seed and woodland crumble and bits and bobs mixture. Do this. It's been really lovely to watch the birds. We have to get binoculars though, because it's actually hard to tell because they're very skittish. So it's hard to tell just from indoors sometimes what all of the different birds are. And as soon as you go outside, they do tend to fly away. They are quite skittish still. So we do have to get binoculars at some point so we can know properly what we're seeing. But the great tits are really easy to identify, and robins of course, but there are some that are a bit more unusual, or I'm not quite sure, for instance, if one bird is a wren or if it's a female robin, things like that. I mean, I haven't lived in the countryside for such a long time and never in the UK, so it's all quite new to me in that way, and I'm not used to a lot of bird watching, but they're such a delight and I love to see them in the cherry tree outside. So I would like to get a little bit more knowledgeable, but I think binoculars would help with that, so I want to get them at some point. So I've just poured the melted lard into the mixture, and then I think Emma says, she says leave the mixture to cool until the lard becomes opaque, but it is still soft enough to spoon into the yogurt halves, plant pots or yogurt pots, basically whatever sort of pot you're using for the birds. So I'm just going to let this cool for a bit, and then I can start spooning it into my coconut shells. Okay, so I'm back and the mixture had cooled enough and I just spooned it into the coconut shells. I think they're looking really good and they're pretty much cooled down now. Yes, not coming out, so that's good. Oh, so it was really lucky because this mixture pretty much filled all of the coconut shells and I didn't actually need the yogurt pot in the end, so that was good. And I'm really hoping that the birds will enjoy these. I have to say that we have some pretty spoiled birds around us because our neighbour makes these special biscuits for them, which are really good. I mean, they're meant to be for people, you know, we enjoy them ourselves, but she also often makes them for the birds because they have some like pumpkin seeds and things in them and the birds really like them. So they are a little bit spoiled around here, but I'm hoping they will also like these, especially as these are my homemade bird puddings, because when we first bought the shells they already had a sort of pre-made like suet mixture in them, so this will be the first time that I've made a bird pudding, and I hope that they don't reject it but enjoy it. So I'm going to go out and hang them on the tree now. I'm watching the birds from the window and I'm delighted to report that they are absolutely loving the bird puddings. So happily a success. Hello again. So I've now exercised, got dressed, had lunch, worked a bit on some blog posts, and now I've been doing some photography. And I thought I would have you guys with me for some of the photography process today. So today I'm going to be creating the bookcase that is in my bedroom. And you can see this big stack of books behind me. These are all books about Scotland or by Scottish writers, and so I'm doing this in preparation for tomorrow's video, which will go live in celebration of Burns Night. And in that video I'm chatting about about books to read that are set in Scotland or by favourite Scottish writers of mine. I was saying tomorrow, but this actual video won't go live until Wednesday. So when this is live, you'll be able to see my book all about Scottish books. My video all about Scottish books. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. But I still need to film that, and I want a nice picture to go with that video for my Instagram account. So I'm going to be curating this bookcase in my bedroom, and I'm going to fill it with some Scottish inspired literature. If you follow me on Instagram on my Miranda's Bookcase account, you'll have seen this bookcase already, and I often use it to display lots of books facing outwards around a particular theme. So this week's theme is going to be Scottish literature, and I've got to fill this up with some books. I've got this fold out card by Sarah Young at the top. I thought these ladies looked a little bit like they were dancing a reel. So that was the most Scottish fold out card that I had, but I thought that would be quite fun. So I'm just getting stuck in now, trying to decide which books I want to display. So let's do this. I'm getting into layering the books a bit, and I feel I've got a nice balance of small books and titles overlapping some of the larger ones. So I'm really pleased with how that looks, and I've managed to get some favourite authors and even artists in there. So I'm happy. So now I have to have a think about doing my video for tomorrow, which books I'm going to choose, because I think I've taken a few too many out. I don't know if that's really realistic to get through all of the ones, and yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm really pleased, and yeah, I've just got some more filming to do and a bit more photography, but the light's starting to go now, so I'm going to get on with it. Hi everyone, so it's now Tuesday afternoon, and I've finally had a chance to sit down and chat with you about my goals and ambitions for this year, and some of the tips that I'm hoping to use that will help me to achieve those goals and ambitions. I admit that at the start of January I really wasn't in the mood to think of New Year's resolutions and things like that, but I still welcome the beginning of the year as a chance to evaluate the past year, think about what was going well and what wasn't going so well, and what I want to get out of the year ahead. So with any kind of goal, I really like to break it down into smaller goals. And I like to do that with the year as well, because it can feel really overwhelming to me if I think of my goals or ambitions in terms of, I want this to happen in the next year, or I want to get to this stage within this next year. That can feel really overwhelming. Whereas if I break my year down into quarters and I think in 3 months I want to have implemented this into my routine, or I want to have tried to have got to this point, or I want to have made sure that I've written in my journal as many days as possible. That really helps me to sort of break things down into smaller chunks. And it's good to break it down month by month as well. But what I tend to do is I like to have a focus for each quarter of the year, and so I know what I'm really focusing on and working towards at a given point in the year. And for me that just makes sense, and it works for me to focus on different aspects of my life, of my career, at different points throughout the year. Now obviously I still have long-term goals and things that I hope to improve and work on throughout the year, but if I choose to focus on some of these things, especially at certain points, then I feel that will help me just make them part of my routine as well, hopefully anyway. So of course there are some general things that I will be hoping to improve in 2021. Every year I wish to improve my photography, and I'm looking forward to being in a different place this year, photographing in the countryside, and some of my countryside life is very different from photographing my urban life in London. So part of my photography will also be about learning how to tell my story in the countryside now. But I have to say I'm actually really excited about that, and I feel that countryside living really suits me, and it offers a lot more scope actually for the type of photography I like to do, both outside and also inside, with interior shots and book shots and things like that. I actually feel really excited about my photography this year, which is really nice because I didn't feel so excited about it at this stage last year. So I'm really looking forward to learning how to tell those stories of my countryside life through photographs this year. I think that will be really fun. And of course, YouTube will be a big focus for me this year, and I always hope to improve my skills on YouTube as well. A real aim for me concerning YouTube this year is to do more vlogging. That will become a lot easier when we hopefully won't be in lockdown in the springtime, and we'll be able to go more places, I hope, fingers crossed, though our safety and health is the most important thing. But yes, I do want to get better at vlogging, and practice makes perfect, or good enough anyway, with this. So vlogging is something I'll definitely trying to get a bit more used to and hopefully better at as the year progresses. But for this first quarter of the year, my main focus is actually on my personal life and my health in particular. And there are two things I'm really concentrating on in this first quarter of the year, because I really want to implement good habits at this start of the year that will see me hopefully through 2021 and will make it easier to achieve more of my goals down the line when I already have a really good basis, a good foundation of healthy habits that I hope to really cement in these first 3 months of the year. So one of those habits is journaling. I know that I always feel better, my mood always improves when I journal. And I journal in 2 ways. So I use 2 different types of journals. I use the 5-minute journal, and this is often what I'll do first thing in the morning, is I'll fill in the little section in this journal, and then there's an evening section in it that I do last thing at night. And I know that when I do this, it really helps. So I love this journal. I'll hold it up so you can see it. You can see at the, so this part not shaded is for the morning, and you write down 3 things that you're grateful for, then 3 things that would make that day great, and then a daily affirmation. And there's always some kind of positive quote as well for you to reflect on at the start of the day. And it's very simple, but I really love it, and it makes such a difference to my mood and my mental health when I take the time to do this gratitude journal. I think practicing gratitude, having that as part of your daily life is really important. So I love this. And then at the end of the day, you write down 3 amazing things that happened today, and then 1 thing about how you could have made the day even better. Sometimes it actually really helps if you share with somebody else. I find it especially helps if you share the 3 amazing things that happened in the day, so the nighttime bit. So often my mum and I, for instance, will chat about the 3 amazing things that happened in a day, and there are some days where I actually struggle to think of a 3rd thing. Because I'm always a slightly more glass half empty person, and my mum is really the glass half full person. So if I'm having a day where I'm struggling a bit and I think hardly anything has gone well, she will always help me to think of those 3 things that actually did go really well. And it can just be a really nice exercise to do with someone in your life, but also to do by yourself, of course. Sometimes it's nice to bring in somebody else for that, and for you each to express 3 things that went well, 3 things that you're grateful for at the beginning and the end of each day. I think it's just a really lovely practice to have. So that's something that I really want to make sure I'm filling in every day. And then I also love to do morning pages, and that's essentially writing 3 pages. It can be about anything you want every morning. And I got this idea from the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, I think is her last name. And again, this is just something that I know when I do it, I feel a lot more creative, I feel a lot more ambitious, or I just get more ideas. But sometimes it also helps if I have too many ideas going around in my head, and that happens a lot to me. It can feel less overwhelming when I just know that I'm going to be writing things down every day, and that way I don't forget things. It also gets all of these buzzing ideas out of my head onto paper, and that can really reduce my anxiety levels and also just make me feel more productive as well, and help me to sort out those ideas into ones that I think are good and ones I think are maybe not so good or not for this stage in my life. So doing this type of journaling is what really helps me, and this is a slightly foxed notebook that I've just started this year, and I really like it. And then this one, I like to write this sort of thing out by hand. I just really like that practice of getting my fountain pen out and writing out everything by hand. But there is a 5-minute journal app that you can get for your phone as well. So if you're that kind of person that you prefer to record things on your phone, then they have an app that's really worth looking into. And you can also I think store photos on the app too, so if you want to record a special moment from the day through a photo, then you can do that on the app, which I think is a nice idea as well. But then my next big personal goal for this year is centered around exercise, and this is something I haven't actually talked about hardly at all publicly in the past, because it's been a really sensitive subject for me, and it's something that I've been sort of finding really hard for the past 4 years. And sometimes when you're struggling with something, it doesn't actually help to share it with the world, or it doesn't help me. But I did want to actually take the time to talk through it now, because I think that it is important to share these things sometimes. I was always someone all through my teens, all through my 20s, who exercised a lot. I really loved exercising, and it was something that I found a lot of pleasure in, especially sort of dance-orientated exercise. But just after I turned 30, so coming up to almost exactly 4 years ago now, I'd been doing some more sort of weightlifting training. To be fair, I don't actually know what happened or what really caused this injury, but I did get a really bad shoulder injury. And I remember the moment I just kind of turned my head and I had this searing pain go down my neck and into my shoulder. And I was in agony, not just for months, but for years after that happened. And this kind of coincided with me, with my social media taking off a bit more, with me starting podcasting and all of that. And it was actually very hard because I was in pain a lot and I was doing a lot of work just sitting at my desk, which often aggravated the pain. And the worst thing about it though was that it made it really, really difficult for me to exercise. Eventually, after 2 years of this, I did start yoga, and that actually really helped me get back into exercising. After 2 years, the pain had also sort of subsided enough, I'd recovered enough that I could sort of try exercising regularly again. But I'd say by that point, I almost had a bit of a phobia about it. It was a way I'd never felt before, but knowing that I might hurt myself again, or thinking of how much pain I might be in if something went wrong in an exercise class or I overdid it, it made me really fearful about exercising. And how I got back into it was I decided to try yoga. I was really lucky and I found a really good yoga teacher in London. And it was a very slow kind of yoga. It was Iyengar yoga, which is very controlled. You don't really quickly go into one position from another, so you don't sort of jar anything. And it's very much about getting really good technique. And I was also fortunate because I just had sold a photograph that had given me enough extra money that I could ask for private lessons from my yoga teacher. And it was just perfect timing in that way, and I was so grateful to have that, because normally private training wouldn't be something I could afford. But I decided to use that money for myself, and I was able to work with my yoga teacher, both one-to-one and then going to these classes that were very small classes anyway. And over a process of months, I actually got myself in shape to the point that I could exercise again. This was only probably about 1.5 years ago. So that was great. However, I feel like I am not up to my usual standard of exercise. It's something that I've continued to struggle with. Like I said, I think I almost built up a fear of it through this injury. And that's been something that has felt very strange to me, because I haven't felt like myself, not being someone who wants to exercise, and that can be quite a discombobulating experience. I don't know if any of you have ever gone through something similar, but that was quite hard on me. And this year I really have the goal to get exercise back into my daily routine. Thankfully, I am now at the stage where I can do the type of exercise that I love to do the most, which is the Tracy Anderson method. That's what I did throughout most of my 20s, and I absolutely love it. There's a lot of dance, there's a lot of Pilates style movements, mat work, but it mainly is a whole method that's Tracy's own, and I absolutely love it. So I'm so excited that I can finally do this kind of exercise again, and I just really want to keep positive about it, because it can be really hard going back into exercising when you have been someone who's been pretty fit in the past, and you go back and you just think, oh my goodness, what has happened? I'm so weak, I'm so not flexible anymore. It can be really hard sometimes to start something like that again, especially after an injury. So this year, that is my real goal, and so far in January it has been going well. I started with her beginner class, which is half an hour a day, and then about a week ago I moved up to her intermediate level, which is an hour a day. And I'm finally really enjoying it. I'm finally enjoying exercising again. It was a bit rocky to start, I'm not going to lie. In January I did have some days where I could have just sat on the mat and cried, but I just kept going. And I had my mum kind of cheerleading me on from the sides, and I kept going, and I finally feel like I'm starting to get back to who I used to be before this injury, which is quite an emotional thing for me, and I really haven't shared about this over the past kind of 4 years because it's been something I've wanted to kind of just get through myself. And also, I mean, you get tired of saying to people, no, I'm still injured, no, I'm still injured, it still hurts, and you know, people get bored of that themselves. So it's something I have kept more private, even from friends and stuff. But I've also been thinking about ways to really keep myself kind of motivated to keep exercising this year, and something I've done in the past but sort of forgot about, that I've just started again. So I only started last week doing this, that's why it's not really filled in, but I've started to just note down on a calendar the days that I complete my exercise. So my goal is to do 5 to 6 days of exercise every week, which maybe that sounds like a lot. I know everyone has like different goals, but this is what Tracy always recommends, and I just know that I feel better, I feel more upbeat, I feel a lot more myself when I've done a workout. So that's why I do want to do quite a few each week. So I've started just writing down on a calendar every time that I do my workout, and I write down how long I've done it for and what level I'm at. And I just think this is something that really works for me, and it could be for any goal. It could be for drinking more water, or eating more healthfully, or reading a certain amount of time each day. Whatever it is that maybe helps your health, both physical and mental, then I think it's really important to track those things sometimes. And it can feel then really good when you can tick off on a calendar and you have the sort of physical, visual proof of how well you're doing. And at least it motivates me to keep going because I want to write it down. Maybe it's a bit childish, but I think that it works for me. So it's definitely worth a try. So yeah, that's my really big focus for these first 3 months of the year, is really getting back into my workout routine, enjoying exercise again, and really concentrating on my own health this year. But I'd love to hear some of your goals as well for 2021. I'd also like to know if you've ever had a similar experience where you've been injured, or maybe just something else, something that you used to really enjoy doing and then something happened that almost took that away from you, and that you had to sort of get back into yourself, because I know how it feels and it is really tough. But I'm just happy to be coming out the other side. But if you know what I mean, then I'd love to hear if you want to share any of your experiences as well. But I'm wishing you all, of course, all the very best for the year ahead, and thank you so much as always for watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. Do give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll be back again on Friday for tea reads with my mum. So see you again then. Goodbye.